the Samoans will very much know that my grandfather's name was Tolupeni, or we call him Tolupeni. And the literal translation is 3 pence. So his restaurant, back in the day, apparently, you can get a pot of tea or pork buns, half moon pie for 3 pence. So I guess he was the original $2 shop guy in Samoa.
If you go down Taufusi Road, that was like Chinatown back in the day. So you'll still have families like the Langwais, the Chan Maos, like they set up shop on Taufusi Road. I mean, that's the end result of someone who came here with nothing. Okay, so this is my grandfather's shop. My mom's oldest sister, she now runs half of the shop. And then my mom's youngest brother also has a shop further back. Georgie's Pizza is now where we used to spend our holidays. That used to be the living room. Yeah. And this is Auntie Moi. It's my mom's oldest sister. So my grandfather built this little empire. My beautiful first cousin, his whole life was dedicated to providing for his Samoan family.
Well, in fact, most of them that came back then are very successful families now. Guys like the Alikis, the Akuis, the Chan Maos. What they used to do back in the day was they used to have this club, and everybody pays a certain amount of money into the club to become a member, like a La Forma, like, you know. And out of that money, they would buy land for this guy. He starts a business. Now, he's got to pay that loan back into the society, and while the society is still putting money in, then they buy land for this guy. Then they buy a business for that guy. And then all these guys end up with businesses, but they still have to pay into the society. It was a very well-organized association back in the day. You know, they just put their head down, bum up, as they say, and just keep saving, and keep working.
I think I would attribute the success of the Samoan Chinese to various factors. Firstly, you know, the cultural element. Samoan culture being very inclusive and allowing the Chinese to assimilate, which then gave the opportunity to the Chinese to develop and also to start businesses and to receive that protection from the Samoans.
Every time this debate comes up about the old Chinese, I would say that they're not really Chinese. They are Samoans. So for me, what we need to be looking at is the new wave of Chinese.
The Chinese are really invested heavily in the Pacific, in all countries, and they are investing more in the future. And Samoa is always looking for big investors to come here, boost our economy. But we've got to be very careful what we want and who we want at the right time.
I think we only have to look at Tonga, where they had experienced difficulties with this new wave of Chinese. We got to bear in mind that the new wave of Chinese are very aggressive with their businesses.
You know, right now it's mainly the retails that is sort of causing a bit of a rift or an uproar by the local businesses, the smaller businesses.
If you go now to a lot of villages, you see the small shops that we reserve for the families, and now a lot of those shops are run by the Chinese. So that is a real concern, and you know we keep seeing that over and over again. And you know we've had some villages basically stand up and said, look, we're not going to have any more of this. We're going to reserve these shops for our local people. So that's the kind of reaction that we've had.
So we're trying to encourage foreign investors to come here, but we don't want them to do that at the expense of our local people. But then there are some loopholes that we are looking at now.
We passed the law restricting foreigners from operating retail shops. But the Chinese that have come in, the new wave, well, they would marry local Samoan girls to enable them to set up retail shops.
So we've got to try and really look at those legislation to make sure that the protection of our local businesses is continuous. that we don't encourage any more investors in the retail sector. We've got enough. We want constructions and hotel builders.
I mean, competition is always good, but adding 10 or 20 extra companies that are going to undercut our already tight market isn't helping our economy. In fact, what it'll do is it might drive some of us contractors out of business, and whether we leave the country or maybe we'll come to New Zealand and pick apples, I don't know, find another way. We can't compete.
We've got a government at the moment who's pretty desperate in terms of money, who are not exactly the best in terms of being transparent and accountable in terms of how the money is spent.
We need to stop it now. They don't give a hoot as to who they're trampling on or who they're running over. They're just driving for the business. But going back to the old school, there was the harmonious gel. But back then, I suppose, it was the growth of Samoa that needed it. It needed to happen that way. We still need to grow, but not this way. There's too much influx right now.
We need to look at what's happening to our customary land. We need to look at what's happening to our culture. We need to look at what's happening to our language. And you know, we talk a lot about the dragon coming in, and I think that's all part of it. It comes down to a new wave of colonialism that's coming through. You know, we've been independent now for 55 years. The question we really need to ask ourselves is, sit back now and look back at how far we've come. Where exactly are we?
We cannot avoid being part of globalization. We're there. It's kind of upsetting for me when I hear negative comments towards the new migration of Chinese, because I put myself into my grandfather's shoes and I imagine, like, what would he say? Because, I mean, how is he different from these Chinese? I'm gonna put it bluntly. There's like an air of racism towards the new Chinese, and that's not who we are. That's not who Samoans are.
What is going on? We're looking another 20 years ahead. What's gonna happen?
Or what they've left behind for us, our forefathers, our Chinese fathers, have come in and actually integrated into our Samoan society, into our Samoa, Olanga Samoa. We've learned the best out of both worlds, our whaaloalo and our the way that we are in the Samoans, and in the hardworking and I guess the business news of the Chinese.
We are a product of being Samoan as well as being Chinese. And I think that's important for us to acknowledge that Samoan Chinese exist within Samoan culture, in the same way that so many people acknowledge Apakasi. For every Samoan who has Chinese blood, it's so important for us to acknowledge that. And I think it's even more important for us to start telling this story, start telling this history. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's time for us to celebrate it because it's amazing. I mean, it's Chinese, Samoans come together and it's like fireworks.